I had a lot of emotions because it's like the first time I was going to this big meet, and then I used to realize how big it is. And
I'm here to change the game up. I'm here to shuffle up the deck. You'll probably think I'm famous.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to tonight's episode of the Running Through It podcast. My name is Justin Horniger, and I have a couple things on the agenda tonight. New York City was this weekend, so I'm going to go through everything that went down, give a little analysis on it and what it means for the U.S. trials. Now that we have kind of all of the major marathons out of the way, a little bit under 4 months, a little bit over 4 months to go until the trials, so that's a little bit under 4 months. What am I talking about? And then from there, we'll talk about the big news that dropped over the weekend that WADA has planned to investigate former Nike Oregon Project athletes associated with Alberto Salazar. And then I have a little bit of a follow-up interview with a good friend of the pod, Yolanda Ngarambe, who, if you remember, talked with her about halfway through last season, and her season took a big turn for the better after our conversation, which, I'll take a little bit of credit for sure. But since we last talked, she ran in Doha, represented Team Europe in the match, represented Sweden in a couple international meets, and won a Swedish national title. So something that we get into with her, what it's like to be in Doha. I really wanted to kind of speak to that, as well as what it's like to kind of be able to turn your season around like that, and mentally how it feels. So without much wait, I'm going to throw to the interview with Yolanda, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so before we get to the interview with Yolanda, I want to take a moment to pay the bills, to plug my Patreon that I announced I was forming last week. So by giving to my Patreon, you'll be supporting me, you'll be supporting the podcast, you'll be supporting my ability to make content more frequently, just because financially it's going to make more sense. I have a $5 tier and a $25 tier. $5 tier will give you access to my Patreon-only newsletter, which will deliver the podcast a day before it hits your RSS feed in your favorite app, as well as gear reviews and tips, advanced access to articles and leads I'm currently working on, as well as access to a Patreon-only bi-weekly podcast focusing on answering your questions and sharing coaching advice to help you train for your upcoming spring race. I also offer month-by-month training in the $25 tier, which gives you everything that the $5 tier gives you, as well as a personalized month-by-month training plan geared towards your spring half or full marathon or ultra or 5K or 10K, an equal opportunity, plus potential gear or race discounts. So check it out in the show notes below, and let's get into the interview. When we talked last, mentally, it seemed like you're feeling a little bit burnt out, or at least getting to that point. Mm-hmm. How would you say things have changed since that point?
I think last time we spoke, there was a lot going on in my life, kind of. I'm just overwhelmed. Now the difference now and then, I think that was my so dramatic turning point, around that time, where it was I was tested by many things at the same time to see if I could do it, kind of. Yeah. And I feel I proved myself that I could, and I think that created this made me realize that I could do better than I have before. I don't know. I just I feel 100% way better now and stuff, but it just, I don't know. I learned this summer how to get all my potential out in a race and stuff, and I feel that's why my season became so good.
Do you think it was the reason you raced well because you're in a better place mentally, or do you think that figuring that out during the race helped you off the track as well? Do you think it was does it help itself, or did one feed into the other?
Yeah, I think the one feeds into the other. I think I think it's a lot of things came together this year. Physically too. I think that I've been working on this for so long, so I feel my body was ready to perform. But then I feel and if I almost feel this year would have been good no matter what, because I was ready physically, and I was pretty good mentally always, just positive. I'm not saying I'm the greatest mentally in a race, but I feel this year just taught me how to be even stronger mentally in a way, and then I was just healthy, so I don't know, this sounds so weird, but I think it's almost meant to be, because it's not like everything happened by accident. Like I've been training for many years and stuff.
Right.
So everything just culminated like at a perfect time. Not perfect time, but yeah, it's kind of all came together for many different reasons. But I also think that this year, no matter what, would have been good because I feel like when I think back on all the training I've done and my own how I've learned things about myself and through running and blah blah. Blah, I feel like this year I was ready for something because I feel like last year I was kind of ready for something too, but then I just didn't. It didn't happen.
The year kind of like set itself because it was almost in like two halves where you had everything in the preseason and then with the Swedish national championships and then the European games that you're a part of because of that and then going to Doha. It was like a long year in general. So I think we talked in like May or June maybe. I think was the one that the last podcast was, and you still had like 4 months left in the season when usually that would be like almost done. So it's interesting just like see how you can go through those stages. When you got like, so being a part of those, everything going on in Europe this summer, like with the Sweden National Championships and then the match, how would you rate those experiences over things you've been involved in the past?
I mean, I feel like this year
There's a lot of hype. It seemed like a lot of hype.
Yeah. I feel like this year I got to run. This year was like the first year where I got to do everything I wanted to do. Like usually I have all these goals. Like I want to do this, this, and this. Like I want to run the match. Like if that wasn't a goal another year, usually I wouldn't end up actually getting there. But like I would get close. So I would still like evolve in myself, like in my performance and running. But I wouldn't get to the actual goal. But this year was like everything in running that I wanted happened. Like if I was like, oh, the match, that sounds cool. Then it's like, oh, I'm running the match. Or like, I want to make it to Worlds. But then I actually made it to Worlds. Like it wasn't just something that I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just like, I think there's a common thing with athletes. Like you have goals and then many times you don't reach them. But this year I actually reached like them. I don't know. So that I think that was like, yeah, so I feel like everything this year was so fun, like extra fun. Because I was like, oh my God, I'm at the meet that I wanted to be at. Not just, I almost got there and I got a PR, I was still happy. This year was like, whoa, I made it here. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then made it there, and then you get to Doha, and then made it through a round.
yeah, exactly. It's like everything. I mean, obviously, like I would want to make the final World.
Yeah,
but
that's next year.
But honestly, like going in this year, that's not something that I thought I could do.
Right.
It's more that came with everything and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I remember like when we talked last time. You definitely didn't seem like as confident about like going into it.
yeah, exactly. It's like I don't know. I was actually in Rwanda after Worlds.
Yeah.
And I got invited to this like conference for the youth and stuff, and I was asked to talk about my journey and stuff. And what I realized when I was thinking about what to talk about, I realized that when I was young, and I don't know if many people feel this way, I used to have all these goals and big dreams. That I was so confident. I was like, I'm gonna get there. Like I was like, I'm gonna go to the Olympics, and I was so sure of it. And that's before you know the journey there and stuff. But still, I was so confident. And then when the years passed by, I still had some goals, but I was like less confident and less confident. But you almost get used to that. But then now, after things started going like actually how I wanted them to go in running, then I feel like I've got that confidence back. Like I'm like, oh yeah, like. I used to always say I was going to go to Worlds one day. Like, it makes more sense. I don't know. I feel like that I got that confidence back. That confidence that you have when you're a kid, when you think everything's possible. Yeah. Like, now I have that.
You have to have you kind of have to have those, like, dips and valleys to, like, make it worth it, I think, when you finally get there. I always tell a story of, like, when I got to college, my goal was to like set the record in the 1500 meters. Like that was my goal, and like I had a somewhat promising freshman year, and then I just hit a brick wall sophomore and junior year, and like suffered through a lot of mental health stuff, and things did not go the way I wanted to with my running and just with school and everything. But by the time senior year rolled around, I like figured out that aspect of my life, and in my final race I was able to like get the actual mile record. So
cool.
It's something I always talk about. Like, yeah, the journey isn't always like that straight path of like getting to your goal, but it's like figuring yourself out along the way.
Yeah. And then when you get to the goal, it's almost then I feel like it just feels like, oh, this makes so much sense. But you can't go back to your like older stuff and be like, it's all gonna work out, because you don't know it's gonna, but then usually it does. But okay, now I sound like I can only say this because everything I wanted happened this year. So now you're speaking to like a different Yolanda who's so confident, but I don't know.
So full of herself now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's fun to feel like this again. Because I feel like it's nice to feel confident.
Yeah.
And it's not cocky. It's like you feel confident in yourself.
You feel
it's
good.
More fun to chase. Yeah, you feel good. You have less doubts, because it's not fun when you're having doubts when trying to reach a goal. I mean, I still have doubts, obviously, but it's not. I don't know. Now I have this like heightened feeling of like everything is gonna work out as long as I do all the things I need to do.
Yeah, like now it's attainable. So going into next year, in the Olympic year, like actually making the Olympic final would be.
Yeah, it's more. Now I'm like, you can reach your goals even if it seems hard. I just have that more. Yeah. I mean, I'm convinced now. Like it's almost like my coaches, for example, are very, they speak when they talk about things to me. They're talking about these big goals, and they're always pushing me forward.
Yeah.
And I've always liked it, but now I almost feel like I'm like them. Like I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah.
But even they still have crazier goals than I have. So
what's cool about the Begley is that they've like been there before, right? So like when they say something like that to you, it should be encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's like everything they say. I don't know, but also, I mean, obviously I bought into their training and their philosophy, but it's cool to also actually start achieving the things that we always talked about, because then, my trust in them is just bigger, because now if they say like, oh, you can run this time, I'll be like, yeah, okay, and then I try to do it, and then now it kind of happens, but it's also because I believe in them more, so then it's easier to perform when you trust your coaches too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like trust in everything. So to kind of pivot a little bit, because I haven't talked to anybody who was actually at Doha yet since the Worlds. What was like? How did you train while you were there? Because I know like that was part of the issue of everything outside the stadium was outrageously hot.
Yeah, it was so hot. Some people have asked me like, oh, how was it? And I just say it's almost hard to explain how humid and hot it was if you weren't there, because I feel like we're all saying like it was crazy, but it was actually crazy. Like you walk outside, and if we say you're holding your phone, it just like instantly has like, I don't know, it's called dew, like it's just like wet, like in 10 seconds. Or people's, you couldn't see in their, they're wearing their glasses, they couldn't see anything. But so I never did like some people run on the treadmill. I never did that because I never run on the treadmill, so I didn't want to try something new. Right. But I would just run, after sunset. So most people would be like, you don't run between 10 or 6 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. because it's just, you can't. I mean, if you do, I did my shakeout during the day, and that was just horrible. Yeah. Like before my races, I ran. Like I usually do 2 miles. I did just 10 minutes outside, but I would just train in the evening and go to the training track, because there you could, wear sports bra shorts and stuff. So I would go there and just run and try to, I would run with a water bottle and stuff, because the first run I did, I kind of got really dehydrated quick, that my legs started feeling kind of like jello. Like it was just like so. Everything was so extreme, so it was just like hard to feel normal there. Yeah,
I still like watching the marathon, and it's impressive that like anyone even finished, and then you look at the times, you're like, oh, that's not really impressive. But then you realize the conditions that they're running in, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I remember the night of the women's race, the women's marathon. I went for like a 5-mile run, I think, or something. I remember that night even felt extra humid and hot. I mean, I was struggling to do 5 miles, so it's just. I don't even understand how they run a marathon. Like I don't understand. And the fact that some people couldn't finish is crazy, because these are like professional athletes at the best in the world. And if they can't finish it, that says something about the race or the conditions.
Yeah, so. And obviously they are trying to like remedy that with like the Olympic stage next year. But it's. How would you rate like the experience in general? Like now, since you like haven't been able to experience that like 10-day World Championship rounds before. How would you kind of rate that? Was it what you're expecting, or was it different?
Honestly, I think it was what I expected. It's just,
That's good.
like, yeah. I mean, it was like, this round serious business. I don't know. It is very, you have to just, like, it's almost like you should bring your A game and just try to be as relaxed as possible and confident. And everyone is trying to, be at their best ever.
Right.
I mean, everyone's just trying to. It's like I don't know. Like when you go into a smaller meet, sometimes you can tell yourself, okay, yeah, I'm so prepared. Like I'm just gonna perform above any other performance ever done. But it's different at Worlds because now it's like it's like the best people, and they're thinking the exact same thing. So you just realize, I don't know, that you just have to give what you have and see how far it takes you. There's like no excuses, and yeah.
And everyone kind of has like the same goal of making to the final, and
yeah, and then you see how close you are, and and yeah. I mean, I was kind of overwhelmed first. Actually, before getting there, I had a lot of emotions because it's like the first time I was going to this big meet, and then you just realize how big it is, and I don't know. Then I was like, oh my god, what if I'm in shape? I had all these crazy thoughts. But then when I got there, I felt so calm. And I mean, I was nervous, obviously. I'm not going to say I wasn't nervous. But I just felt, it was like, I was like, you know what? I can only do my best. Like, there's really nothing else I can do. And that just calmed me down. And I feel like that's how I could perform. Because I just, it's just running. You have to just go there and do it. It doesn't matter, they always say, it's just the 15. It doesn't matter if it's Worlds or, in your hometown. But it's true. It's still a 1500, and everyone's going to give their all. And so you can only do that.
Yeah. And then the other side of that coin is it is the 1500. Like in World Championships, it's such a territical race that anything can happen.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know have you watched back your races yet?
I actually haven't. No,
okay.
because I don't know why even. I don't even have a reason. I think it was so much at the time, like so much happening, and that when I was done, I don't know. I was just like, I think I just felt very. You and you feel accomplished. I guess you felt good about everything.
Yeah.
So I never thought about going back to look. I almost feel like I don't want to go back to look because the last race, like I was disappointed for like a second because I was like, oh my god, because the last race I did, like I saw the gap between me and the people who made the final.
Yeah.
So that it was like disappointing to see, but that was before I saw what time I ran. But still, even though, so I think I almost don't want to ruin it for myself because I have a feeling if I watch the race, I'm gonna be annoyed that I got dropped.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, like I know it's the best, but I want to be the best.
It depends on if you're gonna use that as fuel for next year or if you're just gonna be annoyed by it. Yeah, because you look strong. Like I definitely thought, in that race that you had a chance at getting in. But also you can only run so fast when so
yeah, I know. So I feel like I don't like going back and watching races actually on myself if I don't do well. I don't know. I mean, it's like bad, but I was like, I don't want to go back and look at that. I mean, that wasn't even a bad race. I'm talking as if I've been bad.
Right.
But I don't like being reminded of things when I feel like it's annoying. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Chapter's
I like
closed.
the time more.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I like my PR more. It's like, oof, I like my PR. And like the idea of that I came like 14th. Like that's what I like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably what I'm probably gonna watch it one day if I remember. But I feel like I'm gonna forget after this phone call.
Like next summer, as you're gearing up for the final stretch of the season, because I think if you look at that, you should take some confidence away from it that at the Olympics next year.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, yeah, it's true. I'm just thinking how I have watched my other races before. Yeah, but it's almost like when I run a race, I just feel like I'm just done with it then. I'm not done with the race, but I honestly, if it's a 15, I could even become bored watching myself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I only care about the last lap.
And that picture is in your head, so you can always remember that race too when you think back on it.
Yeah, and sometimes my memory isn't even true to the
Well,
because sometimes when I
sounds
was
like a different
here,
problem.
I would tell my coaches like, "This is what I did in this race," like da 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 da, and then I would try to find it for them, and I would like record it on my phone, like screen record, and then send it to them. And then I would watch it, and then it wasn't even. It was kind of. I was like not doing what I said I did, and I was like, oh, I think sometimes I romanticize my races. Yeah. But anyways.
Try to dramatize it more than it actually is.
Yeah. And like I'm like, yeah, I did this move, and then I look, I'm like, I didn't even do that move. So.
Just steady the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe one day I'll look back.
So going into next year, have you sat down and like talked about your goals already, or is it not that time yet?
Actually, I did last week. I had like a 2 weeks off from running, and then I'm going into my 3rd week of jogging.
There you go.
I'm just calling it jogging because I'm not doing anything. But so last week I had a meeting with my coaches. Yeah, and it was funny. Andrew, like Coach B, one of my coaches, he's like, so I'm going to tell you my goals for you, and then you're going to tell me yours. And I'm not going to tell it his goals, but it's so funny. I don't know. That's what I love about my coaches, that I always think I have crazy goals, and then they say their goals. And I'm like,
yeah, that's not. My goals
but it's fun because I like having like big goals, and it doesn't mean it's happen next year, but I like that they think I can do all this stuff, because it gives me confidence going into next year and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you've been advancing, so it's not like your career numbers have been like stagnant for the past few years, and then you have these goals to reach, and like, oh well, I don't know, but you've been moving up like pretty frantically, so I think that anything they set out for you next year is going to be
yeah. So yeah, we set some goals. I feel like I'm ready now for workouts again. Like those are like 2 weeks. I needed my break though. I could tell then. I was like, I love running and everything, but I also believe in you have to take your breaks, and I like when I feel kind of like now I'm itching to do workouts again.
Yeah.
But then I can't for one more week, which I get like annoyed by. But it's like good. I want to feel that way. I don't want to feel like rushed. So.
Yeah, I think you kind of need it. Like I've always thought that you need it mentally more than physically a lot of the time, just because you're like so used to being in that like hyper concentrated on your season kind of mode, and then now you can like not think about it and get back there as opposed to like grinding on yourself the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. So I would never want to lose that feeling I have when I really want to be, I'm really into it and like all in, and like everything is about running. Like I never want to lose that feeling of wanting that. So because I always think it's good with breaks. I would honestly never dare to like take a short break. Like I would rather just take a long one. Like I think it's scary to take a short break, because what if you burn out mentally?
Right. You learn that mistake if you make it. Because I have definitely done that before. Like you get done with like cross country, and then you take like you're feeling good, so you want to keep running because you don't want to lose that fitness, and then you like burn out halfway through the track season.
Yeah. Oh no, so it happens, because I never actually have done that, because my high school coach told me, he always said you have to take 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
So I have all my life with all my different coaches always 2 weeks after like big stuff.
Sometimes I'm a little bit too stubborn, so I also had that advice, but never. But one time I made the mistake of not listening to it.
Oh no. Okay. But it's easy. I mean, I hear a lot of people do it all the time. I'm even pros, so.
Yeah.
And some people it works for them, so I don't know. But I'm just like, I think for me, 2 weeks. And then, but then there's some people who take like, I've heard, but I don't know if it's runners. Maybe it's only like jumpers, but they take like 6 weeks. That though is too long for me. I would just go crazy.
Forget how to run at a certain point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to start all over again at 6 weeks. So.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on and catching up a little bit. I thought it'd be kind of nice to have that follow up to our initial interview.
Yeah, it was fun, and thanks for having me on the first time.
No problem.
Thanks for letting me be a friend of the pod. It's
friend. Welcome back. So that was my interview with Yolanda. Again, you can check out the show notes like usual. I'll have her YouTube page and her Instagram kind of posted below. It's a really cool insight into the professional lifestyle. Atlanta Track Club is definitely growing, and they're doing everything the right way. And having someone like Yolanda that's international caliber, if not, a mainstream athlete, but someone that you should pay attention to, and has a really inspiring story I always talk about we don't all have the same journey, right? We all have different personalities, different things that work for us, different things that we enjoy. And I think Yolanda's case in point of just having that, slightly unorthodox journey to getting to the final goal. But world championship athlete, next year, ideally she'll be an Olympian, ideally make the Olympic final. And it'll be cool to kind of be a part of that journey as we kind of follow along in her season, and just shows you what the opportunities can look like when you have that post-collegiate opportunity. So, speaking of Atlanta Track Club, let's talk about the New York City Marathon. Smooth segue. But New York City Marathon and how it regards to what will happen in Atlanta next year at the Marathon Olympic Trials, because now we kind of have everyone's times in. We have everything we need to see. Just to recap the elite race for you real quick, outside the Americans, Jeffrey Kamworor was able to beat out Albert Creer and Germa Bekele-Gebra, who going into the race wasn't even part of the elite crowd. Definitely a sub-elite athlete, but man, just shows what one opportunity can do. So Germa runs 2:08:38. I posted on Twitter about it, how up until this point he'd only earned $19,150 in career prize money. That took a big jump today, man. Personal best coming into today of 14:26 for 5K, 29:36 for 10K, 49:46 for a 10 mile, 103:34 for a half marathon. So this is, and those times are from 2013, 2016, 2015. So he hasn't raced a lot, at least from what I could find. It's just like we talk about, the opportunity of being able to train past what your shelf life should be. So if you're that post-collegiate athlete that's semi-elite, if you can just have some sort of support system to keep going at it, eventually you might be able to have that breakthrough race. And while Germa isn't an American athlete, it's that same idea of being able to put one race together and now your life is changed, having a third place finish at the New York Marathon. Tamara Tola, 2:09:20. Shura Katada of Ethiopia, 2:10:39. Jared Ward was the top American, running 2:10:45. Second American beat Abdi Aldaram, running 2:11:34. He's just timeless, man. It's crazy because every time I do one of these previews, Abdi's name is always up top because of his PRs, even though he's not a 2:08 marathoner anymore. But he is still a 2:11 marathoner, and that'll get you pretty far. And then you kind of have a whole slew of Americans right behind him. So Connor McMillan, I talked about in the preview, was somebody who didn't have the A or B standard yet, his only marathon being 2:23, but he is All-American at BYU, so he has a pedigree if he could put a race together, and he put the race together, being the third American, getting that A standard, putting yourself in pretty good position come Atlanta. Tyler Pennell running 2:14:10, Joe Ranieri running 2:14:13. Rest of the Americans, Tyler German running 2:15:38, Joe Wellen running 2:16:10. Then you get into some B standards. Louis Serafini running 2:16:34, and Craig Leon running 2:18:20. But he already has the A, so that doesn't matter as much to him. Moving on to the women's race, which was, to me, the women's race is a lot more exciting, just because the men's race seemed to be packed together until that lead pack kind of separated, and then it was just a war of attrition until Kamworor was last one standing. In the women's race, you had Des Linden being in front for a good portion of the race. The top women were in that lead pack for a while. Sarah Hall dropped out at mile 18. You kind of thought that would happen, especially coming off of Berlin. There wasn't really, racing-wise, obviously you want to be able to, I never will fault somebody off trying to race and trying to win prize money, but going to the trial, she didn't necessarily need this race. So she dropped out before something happened, has 4 months to recover, so she'll be fine. I'm pretty excited to see what Sarah Hall does come Atlanta, because she is a grinder. But yeah, so that happened, and then Mary Katani and Jocelyn Jepkowski were able to kind of separate themselves. So then you had kind of the lead pack, then you had the two breakaways and everyone else behind them. And Katani and Jepkowski dueled it out, and then as we got into Central Park, Jepkowski just obviously looked so much fitter and was able to pull away from Mary Katani. Running 2:22:38 to Katani's 2:23:32, was not able to bring that back at all. Des Linden was the top American, running 2:26.46, but she died off hardcore. If you look at her final splits versus Kellen Taylor's, Des Linden was once 90 seconds ahead of Kellen Taylor, finished just 6 seconds ahead of her. So Kellen Taylor was able to make up a ton of time over the last 3 miles, really. Kellen was 30 seconds behind Des at 23. So it really shows you how much ground that Kellen Taylor was able to build up after Des went for it, and she went for it and came up, wasn't able to pull it off. But the fact that she went for it is impressive in that field, to be that confident to go for it. And she talks a lot about just, being in that stage of career where she has the major win, she has the Olympics, now she can take risks knowing that if it doesn't happen, then you've already been there. And if it does happen, then it's just that much better. Kellen Taylor is someone who, going into Atlanta, is going to be very interesting for me. I see 2:26.52, but she's run 2:24.29, and after that 10K performance in Des Moines at the USA Track Field Championships, that shows that she has that all-around fitness right now. Training partner is Alafine Tuliamuk, who ran 2:28.12 off of, I think they said, about 6 weeks of actual marathon training. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with her come Atlanta. Roberta Grona has another great run, running 2:30.12. Katie German running 2:31.55. Dana Herrick in the A standard running 2:36 flat. So a minute under the A standard. Ali Kiefer was another one who dropped out. He's been having injury issues. So for athletes trying to make that quick turnaround who have had issues in the past, Sarah Hall and Ali Kiefer don't end up finishing the race. So it makes you wonder, maybe not. There's 4 months to recover. So they didn't need the race, raced it just to race. You have to respect that, and we're able to pull out before more damage took place. Now looking forward to the U.S. times right now, it's very interesting because if you look at the U.S. race, the top 13 of the top 16 times either run at Chicago or Boston, majority of them being run in Chicago. Obviously you have Galen Rupp's run in Prague in 2018. You have Leonard Creers running in Amsterdam earlier this month. And then you have Scott Fauble and Jared Ward running 2:09.09, 2:09.25 respectively in Boston, and then a slew of Chicago Marathon results. Matt Lano running 2:11.14 in Berlin, but then you have Jacob Riley running 2:10, you have Gerald Mock running 2:10, you have Parker Simpson running 2:10, Andrew Bumbelow running 2:10, Matthew McDonald running 2:11, Scott Smith running 2:11, Brendan Gregg running 2:11, Noah Droddy running 2:11. There's just a slew of runners, kind of top 20 at that 2:11 mark right now. And then you have Creer at 2:07, Fauble and Ward at 2:09, and Galen Rupp at 2:06. All this to say that Atlanta could be wide open, because I'm not convinced that Galen Rupp will be what he has been. Now, he's been so head and shoulders above the rest of the American field for so long now. Just like giving how this year has went, I have no confidence in his ability to come in shape. Obviously, after the Achilles surgery, that puts a lot of hamper on your training in general, and there's a chance that you might not come back from that where you were before. And given all the NOP things, and the fact that we'll talk about this at the end of the podcast, but he's going to be investigated by WADA now. So, not very confident in Galen Rupp. However, that being said, Leonard Creer, I think, as long as Amsterdam is a one-off, is a lock. Jared Ward, I think, is a lock. Scott Fauble, that 2:09, it's better than Jared Ward. I think that's your marathon team. I think we could see Creer, Fauble, and Ward. But given Atlanta's going to be a really tough course, you're just going to have to grind it out, which is why I think Ward and Fauble both can do that. Leonard Creer, not as confident in, but to being over a minute faster than Fauble and Ward. That gains you a lot of grit, just having that fitness advantage. So if I'm to make my men's prediction right now, I would go with Creer, Fauble, and Ward on the podium. But this isn't my official prediction. I'll get over that as we get closer. And then looking on the women's side, again, same deal. Jordan Say running 2:20.57. That's just head and shoulders above the rest of the American field right now. But she didn't look great in Chicago. That PR is from 2017 in Chicago, so it's been over 2 years now since she's ran that. Amy Krog, 2:21.42 in Tokyo in 2018. I don't know if she's there either. Sarah Hall now is their best timer in 2:22.16, and she's someone who definitely has that like grinder appeal to her. Emily Sisson, of course, ran 2:23.08 in London for the fastest debut. Kellen Taylor ran 2:24.29 at Grandma's. Sally Kipiego ran 2:25. Aliphine's at 2:26. Des Linden has her 2:27 time, but she's run 2:24 before 2:23. So those are people who I would all expect to be up there. Like Des Linden isn't going to be up in the front. It makes it really interesting. If I'm to put money on things, I say Sarah Hall, Emily Sisson, and maybe Des, but I don't want to count out Kellen Taylor either, or Jordan Asay for that matter. I just worry about if Jordan Asay is going to be healthy by the time it comes around. There's a lot of intrigue going into this because there's big names that are going to be left off the team that should be on it. But that's just where the women's marathon is right now. Like there's going to be a big name that does not make the team that we're going to be confused about. And like Steph Bruce, she more than anyone has been like the model of consistency. So say someone falls out, if you know that NAZ elite contingent is going to be there to pick up at least one spot. So after NYC, it really kind of crystallizes, this is what we're dealing with. Everything's up in the air, and we might only see one runner returning from the 2016 team. I would say that maybe that's guaranteed to be Jared Ward, but out of Ward, Meb, and Rupp from the men's side, out of Flanagan, Cragg, Des on the women's side. Maybe Jared Ward's the only one that makes it out. It's very interesting. It's going to lead to a lot of speculation. I'm going to be following training very closely to see if I can discern anything as we get closer to the race. Before we talk about the implications of WADA looking more closely into Nike Oregon Project athletes, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Endeavor Run. I had an interview with Jake Tuber. He's been on the podcast a few times. A good friend of the pod. We talked about track and field marketing popularity last time he was on a few months back, but that's when the idea of Endeavor Run really started to crystallize and sounded like something that I wanted to get involved with and lend my voice to. Essentially what it is a training plan led by pro coaches, pro athletes, that's set up like a professional athletes training program. It starts off with a 5-day summer training retreat at the University of Oregon. If you think back to summer camps in high school, this is essentially the same idea, just with the grown adults and teaching you kind of the ways to be a professional runner and to take real ownership of your training. With that, you're also going to get gear discounts as well as other perks to being involved. The idea was really started by Matt Fitzgerald with the time that he spent with NAZ Elite. This idea of just structuring your training like a pro athlete, extremely customized. You're going to get a lot of things that pros would get, like a high performance lifting program, a virtual team to train with, sports psychology, yoga for athletes, and access to Olympians to ask questions to. And it's really high caliber. Everything's kind of taken care of for you, so all you have to do is put in the minutes, put in the hours on the road, time in the weight room, and become the PR machine that you can be. Use the code running through it and get 15% off the program as well as a free pair of shoes. Really makes it all worth it in the end, right? I'll leave that all down in the show notes, so check it out. And let's get back to the show. So the aftermath of Alberto Salazar's doping suspension keeps on going. WADA announced over the weekend that they will also be investigating former Nike Oregon Project athletes in a probe that will surely be crystallized around Galen Rupp and Mo Farah. Now, there is obviously some jockeying between who actually was coached directly by Alberto Salazar, not by Pete Julian. I'm sure that will all come out, but I'm also sure that WADA has to have some information already to be launching this side of the probe. With the amount of time they spent investigating Alberto and everything going around surrounding the Nike Oregon Project. And there are even some leaked memos at the time that were by USADA that were pretty sure that Nike Oregon Project athletes were at least implicit, if not full-on cooperating in the doping protocols or the protocols designed to get around doping bans. Salazar is also the former coach of Britain's Mo Farah, so there is a BBC article I wanted to read about it that really goes into what this could be looking for, and they interviewed Craig Reedy about it. So the clear question is, did any of the allegations concerning Salazar and his operations result in athletes cheating themselves, which might have influenced their performance and might have involved the winning of competitions? WADA President Sir Craig Reedy told BBC Sport, "We need to look at that, and we will." The NLP, based in Beaverton, Oregon, was established in 2001 and was the home of four-time Olympic champion Mo Farah between 2011 and 2017. It was closed down by Nike last month after the Salazar situation had become an unfair burden on athletes on the elite training program. Nike has stressed that USADA's report had not found evidence of performance-enhancing drugs being used on or by Nike Oregon Project athletes. If you listen to the podcast 3 podcasts ago, the emergency pod, you know my feelings on that. Farah has never failed a drugs test and has always strongly denied breaking any rules. I think anytime someone uses the "I've never failed a drug test" excuse now, the defense, the Lance Armstrong defense, there's just no reason for it. Because obviously you haven't. If you've never been busted, if you've never been suspended, you never failed a test. But majority of people aren't being caught because they failed a drug test. Lance Armstrong never failed a drug test, but he was one of the most doped up athletes in sports history. This is going to really put Galen Rupp under the microscope as well, because he is implicated in the water actual decision as well. So that's why I talked about earlier, talking about men's marathon in Atlanta. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So I'm sure his training is good. If he's not, he'll probably not be suspended by then if there was wrongdoing, considering how long the USADA investigation took into Alberto. But surely it's going to be throwing his training a little bit out of the loop. Probably won't be as focused on the goal of making the Olympics as he would have been before, given everything that's going on and given the uncertainty. It means Mo Farah will also be under the microscope. Some things to consider with Mo Farah is Mo Farah is associated with both Jama Aiden and Alberto Salazar from around the same time. Salazar would send Aiden workouts for Mo to be doing when he was overseas, and he was kind of facilitating that along with his group. And while Salazar is in trouble for finding ways to deceive testing, Aiden's crimes are far worse. Aiden was caught after, quote, "Officials from the Spanish anti-doping agency found different types of the banned drug EPO in 19 syringes preloaded and ready to use. Prosecutor's report concludes the trainer did provide his athletes with substances prohibited in the sport in Spain." And that's all from articles at the time of Aiden's drug bust. Obviously, we can't say that Farah is guilty without the proof of it, and he is smart enough to have distanced himself from Aiden and Salazar while they're under investigation. You are the sum of the company you keep around you, though, and I would not be surprised by anything WADA digs up on Farah. It's really going to be interesting to see what happens as the track and field community keeps getting upended by some of the best athletes to have ever competed in sport are involved in controversies over and over again. Galen Rupp, for the longest time, was head and shoulders above the rest of American distance running. He broke a drought in the 10K. He broke a drought in the marathon. Mo Farah is double gold medalist, one of the most decorated athletes in the history of our sport. And there are always going to be questions surrounding them going forward. Something to think about as we get closer to Atlanta, as we get closer to the Olympics. Some dominoes are going to fall, and they're going to shake up the sport more than it already has been. So be prepared. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this episode. Thanks again to sponsors Endeavor Run and my own personal Patreon, of which you can find both of those down in the show notes. A couple different approaches to the training if you're looking for help along the way. Again, if you're going to check out Endeavor Run, you can use the code running through it for 15% off and a free pair of shoes. It's a pretty darn good deal. Thanks again to Yolanda for coming on board for an interview. Something that I think as we get into next year, I want to kind of keep having her on just to talk about the process and things that are going on, kind of give you an insight to the mindset of a elite athlete, of an Olympic athlete, of a world championship level athlete. And I think it'll be interesting just to see where that mindset comes from. Something to explore, to look into even more. Again, I'll post Yolanda's Instagram and her YouTube page down in the show notes. So you guys got some homework to do, some things to check out. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking around, for lending me your ears. I always appreciate you letting me talk into them, and we will talk soon. So in the meantime, work hard, be nice. Happy running, guys.